Representative Al Green just introduced House Resolution 415 to impeach DJT. And I took a look at it so you don't have to. Here are all the main takeaways. Okay, so the overarching theme of HR 415 is that Trump essentially abused his presidential power to act as a self-serving authoritarian instead of a leader that is beholden to the Constitution. With the specific legal and constitutional violations made by Trump being things like violating due process, defying judges, threatening judges, and overall just undermining democratic institutions. So in essence, the one formal article of impeachment is about him being an authoritarian and abusing his overall presidential power. And then those things that I just listed are like the mechanisms through which he did that. So even though that, kind of sounds like it's all over the place, there is one thing that is kind of central to all of this and ties it all together, which is his illegal deportation of Kilmar Abrego Garcia and then the subsequent defiance of multiple court orders saying he needed to be returned, with one of those orders being from the Supreme Court. It was the one that was 9-0, remember? All of these courts at all of these levels concluded the same thing, that this deportation violated his Fifth Amendment right to due process, not to mention an old court order saying that he couldn't be deported because he needed to be here for his own safety. And yet, Trump defied not one, but all of them. HR 415 also talks about how Trump publicly denigrates judges all the time, questions their authority, calls for their impeachment, and that he and the administration, the regime, are not only just flat out not complying, but they're also helping spread and amplify this mistrust of the judicial system. And let me just say this, sowing distrust in the public towards the courts is all so that it makes it easier for us to digest every time they make a ruling against him that he doesn't like. And he can come out and say, the courts, they're corrupt, they're ruled against me, they're blah, 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 activist judges. But just because he says it doesn't make it true. All in all, HR 415 argues that everything that I just laid out reflects Trump's authoritarian tendencies, his abuse of his executive presidential power, and his complete disregard for following the Constitution, justifying his impeachment and removal. Let's remember that and removal part, folks, from office.
So, Al Green decided that the best Christmas gift actually for Donald Trump is an impeachment. And he went ahead and said that he's going to put up the privileged impeachment resolution. And this is something that the House cannot ignore because it forces the House to respond within 2 legislative days. They cannot ignore it. And this is the best gift for Donald Trump, according to Al Green. And the articles of impeachment will be filed and presented to the United States House of Representatives. And this one, they will not have any choice but to respond. They will not have any other choice but to act on what will be brought forward. And if you see many videos of Al Green pushing for this impeachment, you will know that this is a person who is committed to make sure that this comes to pass. And this Al Green is just one of the many Americans who are tired with the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and they do not want him in power any longer because he has abused power not once, not twice, so many times. He does not listen. He does not follow the law. He is always out to look after himself, but not looking after the people that elected him in that office. And Al Green has vowed that Donald Trump should not even be elected on any other seat apart from the president, because the presidency is the most powerful office in the world, not just in America, in the whole world. And if this person is abusing power, this person does not follow the law, then he does not deserve to be in office. Because one thing that we forget is that the rules or the things that Donald Trump put across does not only affect the Americans, but it affects almost the whole world. Because America really, as the president, you are the most powerful person in the world. And everything you do, everything you decide, it has either a positive or a negative effect to the whole world, not just to the Americans. But it's clear that the Americans right now, they are so tired. They are very tired. Because if Donald Trump is not demeaning the members of the judiciary, then he's abusing his presidential power. You know? He's abusing his presidential power, which shouldn't be the case. Because I'm just wondering, during the Obama reign, did you see such cases? Were there any impeachments that were brought forth? No. People were enjoying Obama being their president. But it has been the opposite with Donald Trump. It's always one complaint after the other. People are for sure tired. And they do not want this man even a day longer in the office. And they want him gone as soon as possible. Because Trump always believes that he is the law. And there is nothing that you can tell him, or there is no otherwise in his sentence. He does not know how to listen to advice, which he should as the president. He does not know how to follow the law, which he should as the president. But in most cases, in almost every case, we see him not following the law. We see him going against the law. And the people have said enough is enough. We want this person gone. Because he's always messing up with the system that have been there for a very long time, and coming up with his own rules, with his own laws that do not really care about the people that elected him in office. In this next video, you will see the whole video of Al Green really putting forward this motion or putting forward this article of the impeachment of the President of the United States, Donald Trump. And after you've watched the video, please let me know what you think in the comment section. Let's keep the conversation going. Thank you very much for always being here. Thank you for always choosing to listen to our content. Please, if you have not subscribed, let's pause for a second, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so that anytime we upload a video, you'll be the first one to know. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
Mr. Speaker, and still I rise, and today in the name of we the people. I rise, censured, Mr. Speaker, but not silenced. I rise as a unbought, unbossed, liberated Democrat, and some would also add unelected liberated Democrat. My friends over on Racist Radio say that proudly, and they have a lot of alacrity when they say it, and they seem to say it because they seem to think that somehow they played a role in it happening. Well, be that as it may, I still rise in the name of we the people. And I rise in the name of we the people today, Mr. Speaker, because of concern that I have with the killing that took place in Houston, Texas. As a result of some other things that happened, there was a killing in Maine, I sent out a tweet, as it were. I'm not sure that they're called tweet anymore, but a message by way of the electronic media and social media. And I'd like to read this message because it's the essence of my message today. It reads, "At real Donald Trump, I am told that by saying at real Donald Trump in this message, the president should have an opportunity to hear about it and possibly read it himself. At real Donald Trump, your ICE force has killed a person in Maine. After the killings of Good and Pretty and Araujo without accountability, We cannot trust your Homeland Security or Justice Department to investigate ICE. Quote, we the people demand accountability and congressional oversight. I rise in the name of we the people to demand accountability and oversight. And I do so because, quite frankly, I'm concerned about the possibility of a cover-up. And I'm also concerned about the possibility of a cleanup. Let's start with the cleanup, and then I'll move into the cover-up. The cleanup. You might recall, friends, that there was an assault on the citadel of democracy, this Capitol. You might recall also that there were persons who engaged in this dastardly act of cowardice. They were here to prevent the peaceful transfer of power at the insistence of the president, it seems. He delivered incisive commentary that caused much of what happened that day to take place. So they were here, and they did some things that were unlawful. They were unlawful, and we know they were unlawful because they were prosecuted. Many of them, not just 5 or 10, not just 20 or 30, not just 100 or 200, hundreds of them prosecuted. And after they were prosecuted, convicted, sentenced. And we also know that the president, upon being reelected, one of his first acts as a new president for a new term of office, this was not his first term, his second term, his first act was to pardon the people who assaulted the citadel of democracy at a time when there was an attempt to engage in a peaceful transfer of power, something that our country is known for far and wide, peaceful transfer of power. After he pardoned them, they were able to walk freely. They were pardoned. Now, let's bring that forward. Given what has happened to the persons who were here to prevent the peaceful transfer of power, who were convicted and who were pardoned by the president, the people who are a part of the ICE force, these people are very much aware of what happened, and they know that the president who gave a pardon to those persons who assaulted the citadel of democracy, they know that this president can provide them a pardon too if they're charged with a federal offense. They know, and because they know, it is my belief that this somehow has caused some of them to believe that they have a license to exceed what the law allows. Some of them, not all. This is not a condemnation of everybody. This is about the people who have done things that are unlawful, in my opinion. So they know this. And as a result of knowing it, I think they take liberties that they should not, because they know that the president, to borrow a term that we use in my hood, will have their backs. They know. So let's now examine a rationale for my being concerned about the possibility of a cover-up. That was the cleanup, by the way. The cleanup occurred when the president had those persons released, after he pardoned them, of course, released, who had been found guilty. They were released. They were walking freely. By the way, that was lawful. President has every right to pardon people, and he doesn't really have to give a rationale for it. So that was a cleanup of what he started when he engaged in this movement to prevent the peaceful transfer of power. Unfortunately for him, and fortunately for the country, it did not succeed. So now back to where I was. After the cleanup having occurred, and these officers now understanding that the president has this authority, Then we have to examine what happened next with Miss Good. Let's talk about Miss Good first. We, with our very own eyes, saw most of what happened with Miss Good. And we can say, because of what we saw, if we want to believe our eyes, that Miss Good was not there to harm anyone. She was unarmed. She's an American citizen. She was engaging in a peaceful protest, unarmed, American citizen, engaging in peaceful protest when confronted by officers who were making demands. And if you saw what happened, you know that it ended with her losing her life. Losing her life. And she said kind things, by the way, to the officers. Kind things. But she lost her life. And we saw this with our own eyes. We saw it. Well, let's move over to Mr. Preddy. Mr. Preddy, we saw as he was prostrate, he was sprawled on the ground, and an officer removed a weapon that he had, but it was after the removal of the weapon that he was shot. He lost his life. American citizen, not armed at the time his life was taken. American citizen, engaging in peaceful protest. These two cases are worthy of following because to this day we don't have credible information about what has happened. We don't really know when or if there will be charges that will be brought before a court of law such that there will be a trial. These cases are evidence of the fact that at least these investigators are taking an unusual amount of time to bring these cases to the attention of the public in a fashion such that the public will understand that there will or will not be prosecution. I happen to think there should be prosecution. But if there's not going to be prosecution and they found some evidence beyond what we've been able to see and hear, then I think they should bring this evidence forward and let us have an opportunity to review it so that we can again have the transparency necessary for the public to have the knowledge that it is entitled to when an American citizen has been killed at the hands of the constabulary. We should know. We should have the opportunity to be told by credible sources what the final decision is, whether we are moving forward with trials. With this happening the way it's happening, and given that we were able to see in these two cases most of what happened, didn't see all of it, but most of what happened. In fact, I would say we saw the relevant portions, but there may be something else that's there that we need to see, but we saw relevant portions. Having to see that and not seeing any action taken after all of these months have passed, well, that causes me the consternation and concern that I placed in my message to the masses today, indicating that I am concerned about and would be addressing a possible cover-up. Now, we live in a world where it's not enough for things to be right, they must also look right. Doesn't look right for these two cases to be pending. We have 2 additional cases now, and we also have very little evidence of what actually occurred in one of these cases, and that would be the case with Mr. Araujo. We don't have all of the evidence of what occurred. We saw enough to get some sense of what is likely to have happened. But because we don't have enough evidence, we're told that there were no body cameras, there were no vehicle cameras. We don't have any evidence from the side that should produce evidence because they should have had their body cameras on. $20 million accorded to them for body cameras. They should have had vehicle cameras. There should have been cameras. but they don't have the cameras. They don't have the cameras. So now, why would I believe, as in the case with Mr. Araujo, why would I believe the story that the person who is deceased, Mr. Araujo, tried to assault with a vehicle, assault officers with a vehicle? Why would I believe that, given that we have seen stories manifest themselves about the cases that we actually saw, wherein the original stories told were not in conformity with what our eyes allowed us to see? Immediately after the shooting of Preddy, immediately after the shooting of Good, there was a story put forth that was not in conformity with what we saw. So, if we know that you will send us a message, a false message, about things that we saw, you send a false message about things that we saw, a prevarication about things that we saw, why should I believe that you are going to do anything less in a case where we didn't see everything? I'm concerned about a cover-up. I'm concerned about a cover-up because, as I've explained, these officers are aware that there'll be a cleanup if the president is true to his words and he honors what he says he will do. He has given hints to officers in his prior administration about how they should conduct themselves when arresting people, told the officers, you don't have to be nice. Words from the President of the United States of America about making an arrest. You don't have to be nice. Well, implying that he had their back, implying that we're not as much concerned about law and order as we are about order and law. Law and order means you're going to follow the law to bring about the order necessary. Order and law means you restore order, and I'll provide the law. This is the president, not Al Green. I'll provide the law necessary to protect you. Why should I believe the stories that are being told when we don't see evidence of the cars having collided? Why should I believe when the officers who were engaged in this circumstance that cost the life of a human being in Houston, Texas, they've been secreted away? Why should I believe when you have shut out the engagement of other members of the constabulary, the Houston Police Department? You have said, apparently based upon what I have been told and heard, that the Houston Police Department should not attempt to engage because you were going to take care of this yourselves. The Houston Police Department investigates. It doesn't prosecute, but it's got one of the finest homicide departments in the country. It investigates homicides. The Houston Police Department has investigated police shootings in the past. The Houston Police Department has investigated circumstances where officers who were not in the Houston Police Department, but officers of the law, have been investigated. The Houston Police Department is capable, competent, and qualified to have this investigation. But you're shutting out the Houston Police Department, wherein we could get some scintilla of transparency by virtue of having another authority engaged in the process of investigation. You've shut them out. You've gone so far as to shut out the district attorney in Harris County. They can't get the information that you have such that they can give an analysis. They haven't talked to the officers who were engaged in the shooting. They haven't been able to assess the value that you place on what you now are saying appears to be some sort of drugs that were in the vehicle that Mr. Araujo was driving. Yes, for those who do not know, the allegation is being made now that there may have been drugs in the vehicle. They saw this substance in there, and they are contending that it might be some form of illegal drugs. Why do we believe all of these things when we were told not to believe our eyes in the case of Petty and Good? Why would we not have some degree of suspicion? Why would we not think that you are, Mr. President, in charge of this ICE force, and you, Mr. President, after the person who is now heading Homeland Security, Mr. Mullen, excuse me, why would you countermand what he has done? Mr. Mullen, as I understand it by way of news reports, was going to put a pause on stopping cars. Mr. Mullen was going to give a moment of an opportunity to take a look at circumstances and see if there's a better way to do what you're doing. But you, Mr. President, yourself countermanded what came from your Homeland Security Department, and you did it knowing that he had done this because of the way your language was couched as you presented your command that the officers go back to stopping cars. You made that very clear, that they should do that this was something that they should continue to do. Use the term weak. Don't want them to look weak. Mr. President, we have to ask, why would we the people believe that there will be justice served, given that we know that you tend to want to side without having the opportunity to see what actually occurred? You tend to want to decide before seeing and making your decisions about what the officers have done, and then moving from there, it seems, buying through your agents in the Department of Homeland Security and the Justice Department, buying through what they say. And they're at your command. We should make no mistake about it. You are in control. The Supreme Court has given you the green light. You've taken advantage of it. That's why you sent out your message by way of your Truth Social, indicating that you were countermanding the order from the person that you just instilled as your person who is in charge of Homeland Security. So why would we believe? Why should we believe that you are going to do all that you can to assure transparency? To the contrary, it would not be unreasonable for a person to believe that there may be a cover-up, and if not a cover-up, if there is a conviction, that there will be a cleanup. You'll try first to do all that you can to exonerate the officers. Make sure that the investigation centers around whether the person who is deceased, the victim, whether the victim was trying to harm the officers. Now that's what's been said. Make sure the investigation is on whether the victim was trying to harm the officers. I have not heard to date, and I know that initially it was not said, that there would be an investigation as to whether the civil rights of the victim had been violated. No investigation about the civil rights of the victim being violated. Whether the victim was making an effort to assault the officers. The visceral reaction is, let's protect the officers, not let's have a free, open, fair investigation. When I say free, free for other persons to see and to be a part of. Have a parallel investigation with the Houston Police Department. None of that. None of that. Just immediately decide that you're going to investigate the person who has lost his life without some indication that there will be an investigation as to whether or not the person who lost his life had his civil rights violated, the right to life, whether that has been taken away from him unlawfully. So here we are now. We have Mr. Petty in Houston. We have two other persons in Minnesota. We have a person in Maine. And we have a president who has taken control himself, has a hands-on experience with what's happening in these departments. Nobody can deny that he is without knowledge of what's going on. His latest messages are indicative of his level of engagement and of the knowledge that he has as it relates to these circumstances. He is in charge. This is his Justice Department. It is his Office of Homeland Security. And these people do believe that they work for him. What makes you say this? That they believe they work for him? Well, just yesterday, Mr. Vogt, who is with the CFPB, Mr. Vogt indicated at a hearing that he works for the president. Just recently as yesterday, or day before, I believe it was yesterday, we had the person who is auditioning before the Senate for a position with the Justice Department. This person made it very clear that he works for the president, or at least he did. He said he was the president's lawyer. Maybe it was a Freudian slip, but he said he was the president's lawyer. Now, so you've got people who tend to do whatever you say. When your cabinet meets, there is an effort to see who can give you the most praise. You have them all under your thumbnail. They're all under your control. They all bend the knee to you. They all kiss the ring. They are your people who serve you, not the country. The country is not primary. It may be secondary. It may be tertiary. It could even be quaternary, but it's not primary. They believe in you and report to you. So given these circumstances, why should we believe that you are going to cause the right thing to be done? Mr. President, others have said, and I have said, and I say it now, the blood of the people that I have called to your attention today, the blood of these persons is on your hands. It is. Other people are saying it. Other people are linking you directly to what has happened. And I think they should, given that we know that you are in control, in command, in authority, and that you have knowledge. You're not like a typical president who leaves things to others to do and to decisions to be made. When there's a crucial decision to make, you make it, as evidenced by what you've done with your Truth Social and the case of the gentleman who was killed in Maine. You made the crucial decision as to how the officers will behave when they encounter the opportunity to observe, make an arrest at a later time as opposed to rush in with guns blazing. You've made the decision that they can continue to do what they have been doing, but you do try to cover yourself by using the term judiciously, that they should behave judiciously. Well, that's only to cover. We understand what's going on, Mr. President. And so it seems to me that it would not be unreasonable for a person, a reasonable and prudent person, to conclude that there may be a cover-up in this case, and if there is a conviction in the federal court, there will be a cleanup. May be a cover-up and will be a cleanup if you find that, if the courts find, I shouldn't say if you haven't taken complete control of the courts. You do have an outsized amount of influence, it seems. But if the courts find that there is a federal crime, I'm saying here and now, without question, reservation, or hesitation, I believe that you, Mr. President, will pardon the persons who've taken these lives. I believe that you want to send a message to others, as you did on your first day in office when you pardoned the persons for what happened here on the Citadel of Democracy, at the Citadel when there was a peaceful transfer of power taking place. You want to send a message and let officers know that you have their backs. And you do this because you want to complete your mission of removing persons from this country, many of whom are not the worst of the worst. You want to send a message that you're going to remove, and people should be intimidated, they should be terrorized, and they should leave the country of their own volition before you have the opportunity to send your agents out, your ICE agents, with masks, with no body cameras, and with sometimes malice aforethought, in my opinion. Not all the time, but sometimes. Mr. President, we the people are not going to allow you to continue with this kind of behavior. We the people are not going to allow you to continue to do this. While you are President of the United States and the Supreme Court has given you a certain amount of immunity, allow me to place another poster before you. Mr. President, this is real. This is real, Mr. President. There is a countdown to impeachment. I have been very patient in waiting. I thought others might want to do what has to be done, and I say it has to be done. People can differ with me. I say it has to be done. It is the only tool that we have to bring you under control, to let the world know that we are opposed to what you're doing, and we're willing to take action against you. This is it. This one word, impeachment. Mr. President, I assure you, articles of impeachment are going to be filed, and they're going to be filed in the very near future, because we cannot allow the world to believe that the Congress of the United States of America will do nothing when people are being killed in the streets under circumstances that are clearly questionable, clearly unlawful in the minds of many people. I'm one of them. Under these circumstances, we have to take action. And the only action is impeachment. We in Congress can talk about a lot of things that we'll do next year. And by the way, I marvel at people who will run for office on what they're going to do, and then when they get here, they talk about what they'll do next year. Give people the impression that they're going to come here and change things, that they know things that other people don't know about the process, that they've got something called a strategic approach. And this strategic approach, they never say what it's going to be, but this strategic approach is supposed to make a difference that people who've been here for years and years and studied these things haven't made. And then when you get here, you talk about, oh, next year we're going to be really tough. We're going to be really tough when we take back the House next year. Well, some of us don't buy into waiting until next year. Some of us believe that the time is always right to do what is right. And it is right to bring impeachment against this President of the United States of America. We don't have to wait until next year. Do what you want next year when you have the power to investigate, when you have subpoena power. But most of the public wants to know what are you going to do right now. Here's what will happen right now, and it's going to happen very soon. How soon? Within weeks. Within weeks. It's going to happen. There will be articles, and they will be brought to a vote, not just filed. We're going to vote. This is a question of conscience. I want to live with myself. I want to be able to say to myself, to me, that on my watch, I did all that I could to stop a reckless, ruthless, lawless president from taking the lives of the American people. I'm Al Green, a liberated Democrat, unbought, unbossed, unafraid, and unelected. I yield back the balance of my time.